Good evening. My name is Jacob Morehouse, and today I will be delivering a presentation over innovative climate solutions in an urban environment, specifically dealing with transparent solar cells and motionless wind energy systems. So to begin with an overview, we will be discussing the problem of climate change, some potential solutions in the transparent solar cell and motionless wind energy system, as well as a final recommendation as what I consider to be the better option. So to start, what exactly is a problem? Well, in modern society, it has become an even more pressing topic how we are dealing with climate change. And currently, renewable energy sources do exist which meet this goal, but they're giant solar farms or wind farms which take up a lot of land and pose a giant threat to animals, specifically birds and their migrations. And it is predicted by the year 2050 that nearly 2/3 of the world's energy supply will no longer be traditional sources like gas power or coal-fired plants. Instead, it will be renewable energy sources. So we can't just use giant solar farms. We need to come up with innovative solutions to meet this goal. And as you can see in this graph, the traditional sources, marked at the top, are much more CO2 emissive, with the red indicating direct emissions, which means in the direct production of energy, they are producing CO2, while the renewable sources at the bottom do not directly produce CO2, only in the production of their systems. So once they're up and running, they'll no longer be producing like these traditional sources. So what are the solutions? If we can't use solar farms or we can't use the traditional sources anymore, what can we do? Well, if we think outside of the box for a little bit, we could perhaps turn the city of Houston, or any other city in this case, to giant little power plants. If we could line the buildings with little solar panels, or we could line the tops of them with little wind turbines, wouldn't that be great? But we need innovative solutions to do this. And in order to make this happen, we could use systems like transparent solar cells, which are highly cost effective and have a longer lifespan than motionless energy systems at 25 years compared to 20 years. Now they absorb ultraviolet light and infrared light while allowing visible light to come through. Now they're much less effective compared to traditional solar panels, but since they operate on such a large scale, if you can imagine how big a skyscraper is and all the windows that it could replace, that really makes up for the loss in power. And by using this, it creates no difference to the user. If you were in an office building and you looked out the window, you could see no difference. But the power being generated could power the entire building as well as the surrounding blocks. Now, motionless wind energy systems, as depicted here, can produce much more power per unit. But if you think about the top of the building, there's a lot less area to put it on. And currently they're only being produced by Aeromine Solutions, and that is a much newer technology which needs a lot more refinement. However, it is a very good solution and a source of renewable energy. But for my overall recommendation, I would suggest the usage of transparent solar cells, because as you can see here, in terms of cost effectiveness, they're roughly 50% cheaper per watt. This means for each watt of energy you get out of it, it's about 50 cents cheaper, which if you think about it in terms of scale with these giant cities and implementations, that would be a lot cheaper and easier to implement, which is a great start for using renewable energy on a much larger scale. So to recap, what exactly is the problem? Well, the problem here is how we currently produce energy as well as the side effects of it, like climate change. Now we went over a few solutions: transparent solar cells and motionless wind energy systems, which can be used in large scale capacities across entire cities, which would be enormously effective in helping solve the climate crisis. But overall, I recommend the usage of transparent solar cells in the implementation, as it is much more effective, it is much more cost effective, has a longer lifespan, and you can line it across the entire building and not just a small area on top, making it a much better pick to initially start out. However, that is not to say that in the future motionless energy systems can't work hand in hand with transparent solar cells or other technologies that are developed. So I hope you learned something about my presentation. If you have any questions, you can contact me via email. And in terms of my references, they are listed here.